Hello and welcome, or indeed welcome back, to the only place to get the correct opinions on film. Hands-on film. Today we are looking at what may likely prove to be the biggest release of the year, Dune.
Dune 2.
Part 2.
Part 2?
Yes, Ben. One would be a sequel, the other would be the second half of a longer story. You really should try to get your together.
Yeah, but it was just that you just called me. Would you like to introduce your guest?
Yes. This is, Happy.
Last time she was here, you wouldn't stop complaining about it for a week. Why have you brought her back?
Well, John wasn't available, and I'm scared to go to the cinema on my own.
Well, what time did you go?
1 minute past midnight.
Wow, you must love this film.
Well, we shall find out, won't we?
And I'm guessing Happy was the only person you could find.
Well, I was asleep outside of the bank and he said if I watched a film with him, he'd give me free popcorn.
Yes, I am going to need reimbursing for that, by the way. I have the receipt.
A small one.
We're not made of money. Oh, and I got you that Coke.
We got you that Coke, apparently.
Oh, we have Coke?
Before we start, a little housekeeping. We are not reviewing part 1, are we?
No,
And you haven't reviewed the 1984 version?
I haven't, but I can do a scene-by-scene comparison if you would like.
Let's see how we get on. Can you start by giving us the synopsis?
Well, it's pretty much the same as the book.
You've read the book.
Maybe. So, we're assuming that you are familiar with the events of Part 1.
But I'm not.
Well, there's a shock.
Perhaps you could give us a very quick recap.
Okay.
Very quick.
In the distant future, there are a number of great houses, and above them sits an emperor.
Is the Emperor on the roof?
The emperor replaces the Harkonnen on the planet Dune
I thought it was called
with the
Arrakis.
Atreides.
Why?
I can't remember.
But isn't that important?
It's important that you shut up and let me get on with it. The planet is the sole source of spice, which is key to interstellar travel.
How does that work?
Anyway, as they are just managing to set up, the Harkonnen attack, and it turns out they are aided by the Emperor, who has betrayed the Atreides. Timothy Chalamet and his
Paul?
mother. Yes, Paul.
Like the alien.
What alien?
From Paul.
What are you talking about?
It's a film with Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. It's very good.
Can I get on with it, please?
By all means.
Okay.
I can't remember where I was now.
Something about Paul the alien?
Paul is not an alien.
Technically, he is to us.
Fine. Paul, the alien, and his mother managed to befriend some Fremen who were native to Dune.
Arrakis.
Whatever.
Why is the film called Dune?
Well, I don't f***ing know. I didn't write it. Can I just get on with it?
Please go ahead, Izzy. We apologise.
Sorry, Izzy.
Well, that's it, I think.
Wow, that was concise. So, what happens in Dune 2?
Part 2.
Yes, part 2.
Have you been drinking, Ben? You seem less focused than normal.
Yes, I have.
Oh, fine.
Would you like to give the synopsis, Happy?
What?
You know, sum up the film?
Which film?
The one we've just watched. Oh, for Cronus' sake, Ben. Just let me get on with it, will you?
Fine.
So, we pick up where we left off.
Oh, really?
Something happens with the Emperor, but no one really cares about him. Paul and his mother, along with the desert rat people, are ambushed by Drax's pals. They win, obviously. Would
Which
have been
one
a
is
bit.
Drax?
The head Fremen tells Paul's mum that their chief witch is dying. Not sure why.
Perhaps she was hit by a bus.
Was she hit by a bus?
I don't remember there being a bus in the film.
Okay, so we may continue.
Yeah.
She drinks some blue water and gains some knowledge, Apparently in the future, DuckDuckGo is no longer a thing.
What's DuckDuckGo?
It's how you search on the internet.
Oh, what's
Don't ask what the internet is, even you must know that. Right, back to the story. Paul's mum is pregnant with his sister.
Who is the dad?
Well, I don't know. Maybe a worm.
I like the worms.
Paul's mum starts chatting with her unborn child.
So how?
I don't know. You watched exactly the same film as I did. They need to convince the other Fremen about the prophecy.
Ooh, what is the prophecy?
Oh, I see you've woken up.
Something to do with Paul being chief high wizard of Arrakis.
Paul makes a speech, and that seems to do the trick. He goes on to further ingratiate himself with the desert rats by riding a worm and sleeping with MJ.
Who's MJ?
Spider-Man's girlfriend.
Won't he be angry?
Timothy Chalamet attacks various Combine harvesters and gets several new confusing names. Drax is pretty pissed off and is demoted. The Baron makes Sting the new leader.
Sting.
Oh, sorry, he was in the other one.
Okay, we can perhaps do a comparison between the two later.
There is no comparison.
Right.
So, new Sting fights in some tournament, kills some people. One of the witches seduces him.
I didn't really understand that.
Which bit?
Well, any of it, really.
Any chance we could speed this up?
Who, me?
No, him.
Oh, okay.
May I continue?
What, me?
No, him.
Just get on with it.
Paul's mum goes to find some religious nuts, which makes Paul sad. Thanos turns up. Many thought he was dead, but I checked the cast list prior, so I knew he wasn't.
This is hardly speeding things up.
Thanos shows Paul some hidden atomic warheads. Paul drinks some blue water and has a bit of a sleep. When he wakes up, he has visions and realizes that the Baron is his maternal grandfather.
This is getting complicated.
Yeah, I struggled a little at this point.
Paul attacks the Emperor, who has turned up with some troops. He rides the worms and then breaches the defences. Drax kills Thanos, or Thanos kills Drax, I forget. Paul kills his granddad, the Baron. He then demands the throne from the Emperor, or he will destroy the spice. He kills new Sting.
It was quite a bloodbath.
Paul decides to marry the Emperor's daughter. MJ is upset and leaves. The other houses, who we have not met, refuse to accept Paul, who orders the Fremen to lead them to paradise. Paul's mum chats to the unborn child about a potential sequel. The end.
Okay, let's get straight to the discussion then, shall we?
I like the worms.
You already said that.
And the colours.
Right, we're clearly going to have an in-depth discussion here.
What did you think then?
I haven't watched it yet.
Well, that's not very helpful, is it?
I'm not supposed to be part of this discussion. I'm just trying, clearly in vain, to move things along.
So, it's all down to me as usual.
It is your name on the show.
Fine. Well, it's brilliant.
How did it compare with the book?
It was a film, I think.
Yes, based on a book.
Oh, yeah. I didn't read that.
Yes, well, me neither, but who cares? It was a breath of fresh air amongst a sea of crap. I can, of course, give a few negatives. Some of the timing didn't quite work. Certain sections were a little over long.
There was a lot of staring and sandy bits.
The enemy came across as being a little incompetent, which they didn't in part one. They are all, however, nitpicking.
Nitpicking.
Not exactly. It was a beautifully crafted visual treat. This has nothing to do with the story, of course, but it is in stark contrast to the visual vomits which seem to have been all so common lately. The key events were the same as the 1984 version, but everything was infinitely superior. Even the absurd parts, such as riding a worm, worked in this version. The characters didn't fall into the usual traps. They were all well-rounded with realistic flaws. MJ, for example, worked well. Doesn't steal the story, despite being front and centre of the marketing. Drax looked out of place. Nothing to do with his performance, but he was so iconic in the show with the spaceships.
Star Wars.
No, the other one.
Star Trek.
No. If I might be permitted to continue.
Oh, please do.
New Sting is clearly a rising star.
But you can't remember his name.
I cannot. Paul's mum was excellent. She was trying to pull the strings from behind, but it was evident that at any point she might lose control.
Why would she pull the strings?
To control the puppets, obviously.
Well, I don't think there were any puppets in this film.
Timothy Chalamet rose to the task beautifully, taking on an air of command which I didn't see coming. The greatest success of the film is that it will not only appeal to fans who love the genre, but thanks to the well-rounded characters and beautifully crafted story arc, to a much wider audience.
Okay, and what did you think, Happy?
Shouldn't we have really reviewed part 1 first?
Yeah, well, we didn't. Israel, could you sum up, please?
In conclusion, this is by far the best film this year.
So far this year.
And looking at what is coming up, will likely be the best film all year.
But you said you'd take me to Kung Fu Panda 4.
So what?
Well, that may be better.
With the possible exception of Kung Fu Panda 4, this is likely to be the best film of the year. For my top tip, though, I'd say probably watch the first part before this one.
Sage advice.
Your top tip is to watch part 1 before part 2.
Yes, thank you. That's all from this episode of Hands on Film. I hope that you have all learned something, and if not, try listening harder next time. Goodbye.
Bye!
And we're clear.
We should make this a regular thing.
Oh, God.